Hey viewers, I'm back. It's been 3 months, hell, nearly 4 months since my last video, which is long enough to declare me legally dead. But unfortunately, the funeral celebration is going to have to be postponed because I finally got off my lazy keister and made another video. Now, I'm sure you're eager to learn what kind of video it is. Is it a challenge run? Is it a mod review? Is it a let's play? Is it an unhinged, barely coherent rant? Well, how about all four at once? How you like those apples, huh? I really enjoyed the video I made a few months ago about obscure Fallout New Vegas mods, so I decided to do it again and make a new character to play through some more quest mods nobody has ever heard of. I went through 9 of them because I was too lazy to do 10, and you can see them listed on screen right now. Each of these mods has less than 3,000 total downloads, and they're all over 5 years old, so while they've been out forever, nobody played them or gave a damn about them. The reason why is obvious. Most of these mods have low-quality preview images and short or grammatically challenged descriptions, so most users take a quick look and then give them a pass. It's an unfortunate fact most of the time it's necessary to judge a book by its cover because it's not like you have time to crack it open and read the whole thing for yourself. Well, I've got nothing but time, probably at least 20,000 days left to waste away, so I'm gonna play through these mods and let's see if they're any good. This time, though, I'm not going to tell you which ones I liked at the start. No. I want to help my analytics a little, because they're going to be struggling after 4 months of me sitting on my ass. That means you're going to have to watch the entire video to know which mods I liked and which I didn't. Get ready for 50 plus minutes of pure torture. Anyways, time to get this shit show on the road already. I'm naming my character Gassy Gary because Fallout New Vegas is a role-playing game. I'm sure you know that. And I like to play the role of someone completely different than who I am. And Gassy Gary, he's very prone to flatulence, unlike myself. The last time I farted was 10 years ago. And if you think that's not possible, guess what? You're part of the problem, buddy. You gotta stop fucking farting. It's gross. It's disgusting. If I can do it, so can you, okay? Alright, how this playthrough worked is I enabled each mod one by one, and once I was done with the mod, I moved on to the next and just kept on going. So, we're starting with 6 Angry Strangers, a mod from 2016 with barely 1,000 downloads. It's no wonder why, the trio of blurry screenshots and short description do a poor job selling the mod. But see, there I go, judging the book by its cover, which is the exact opposite of what we're supposed to be doing here. This mod could be a frickin' masterpiece. It could be like Shakespeare, or Galileo, or Da Vinci, or any of those Italian Renaissance guys. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody's played this mod. So let's fucking get my character made and get started. When assigning my special stats, I didn't really put much thought into it. See, I was planning on an explosives build, you know, because farting is kind of like an explosion in your ass, I guess. I don't know. Remember, I don't fart. 8 strength was a good choice. Strength is always good. 10 perception was dumb because it's a worthless stat. I really screwed up there. 3 endurance isn't great, not exactly crippling, but it would have been better to have more. 10 charisma was stupid since charisma does nothing. 3 intelligence was bad since it reduced my skill point gain. 1 agility was a really stupid mistake since it affects reload and equip speed, and explosive weapons are super slow, they take forever to do either. And 5 luck was also a bit of a waste since explosive weapons don't benefit from critical hits as far as I'm aware. So yeah, I already fucked up my build and ruined the playthrough right from the beginning. It's an awful start. For my tag skills, I picked explosives, lockpick, and speech. I was hoping speech checks would be useful in some of these quests, but they really didn't come up much, not that I had any way of knowing that. For traits, I picked Loose Cannon, which didn't really help much, and Hot-Blooded, which made having low agility even worse. So overall, not great picks. I guess the 15% damage boost from Hot-Blooded was pretty decent. It probably helped me when I didn't even realize it. Oh, and by the way, aside from bug fixes and getting rid of the pre-order bonuses, I'm pretty much not using any other mods, so there's no sprinting, no quick loot, and I'm playing on the hardest difficulty too, since I really wanted to torture myself and go insane while playing this. I am using Tale of Two Wastelands because I was too lazy to uninstall it, but we're not going to DC, so it won't change all that much. After the annoying DLC pop-ups stopped harassing me, I realized to get this 6 Angry Strangers mod started, I needed to reach Boulder Saloon, which wouldn't be the easiest task in the world. I stole and purchased some supplies from Good Springs before heading north. Without a sprint mod, it's a lot harder to get past the Rad Scorpions and Cazadors and Deathclaws, but by skirting around the invisible walls and exploiting their crappy AI, I was able to get past most of them. One young Deathclaw managed to chase me down, but I led it into a group of powder gangers and they were able to turn it into a little pile of goop. I still had a long ways to go, but it was a pretty uneventful crouch walk to the 188 trading post. It must be murder on the knees crouching for so long. Anyways, at the trading post I bought some explosives and pushed on to Boulder City to get the mod started. Inside Bighorn Saloon, there's a new character called Marcus, who's unvoiced, but told me through text he was building a team to go after a bad guy named Eli Joe. Eli Joe has done a lot of robbing and raping and murdering, and I'll get 20,000 caps if I put a stop to his activities. But first I need to assemble the team, and that's going to be a bit of a problem because the first other team member is inside Gamara Casino on the Strip, which means I'll need a passport or 2,000 caps to get to her. But that's a problem for near-future me. I strolled out of the saloon and headed towards New Vegas without a care in my heart. It felt good to be playing this game again after not touching it for over 3 months. And it has been an eventful couple of months. I started working out, I had a hemorrhoidectomy, I beat Halo 3 on Heroic because Legendary was too hard, I met a guy on VR chat and had e-sex with him, I got roofied, I got pegged, I spent a month in the Lubbock County Detention Center before my charges were dropped, thank fuck. Otherwise you'd be waiting 30 years, not 3 months for this video. I started playing on a 5M Albanian roleplay server. I found out I have erectile dysfunction, found out they make pills for that, so it's not all bad. And, if trends continue, everyone's going to have ED in a few decades. It's becoming more common. I beat Halo 3. No, I mentioned that already. That's pretty much it. I'm only making up about half of this stuff, by the way. It's safe to say life has been a hellish nightmare I wish had never begun. Anyways, on my way to New Vegas, I got into a fight with a single bighorner and nearly lost. I was feeling really weak, pathetic, and limp-wristed, and I'm not even talking about the game yet. But eventually I made it to Freeside. Normally by the time you reach Freeside in a regular playthrough, you're able to easily kill the thugs that attack you. It's weird that Freeside is kind of designed like a low-level area, but you don't go there until the end of the first act. But this time around, I'm so low-level and so shit at the game that the thugs are actually somewhat of a challenge. While fighting them, I tried out a mod that makes you fart when you eat pork and beans, but the mod kind of sucked. The farting sound was lazy and repeated too often, and it lasted fucking forever. I tried to ignore it as I cleaned out the Van Graffs using the old drag everything into the bathroom trick. I didn't steal everything because dragging stuff is so slow and boring. Then I was off to the King's School of Impersonation to get the GI Blues quest started. Unfortunately, I was so dead broke I didn't even have enough caps to pay off Pacer to see the King. Since I was thrown out of the school for a while, I decided to go to the old Mormon fort and grab Arcade Gannon, since having a companion always makes things much easier. I also met one of the 6 angry strangers, Jacob, at the fort, but unfortunately couldn't talk to him because the quest has to be done in order, I guess. That's just bad design. I then disintegrated this kid's meal, ensuring he would go hungry for the night. After selling some useless garbage at the Atomic Wrangler, I was finally ready to actually start GI Blues, and that quest went as normal. You've played through it already. But interestingly, while being escorted by Oris, we were attacked by fiends. Fiends added to Freeside by the 6 Angry Strangers mod. Killing them was pretty easy, and it got me to level 2 where I picked intense training to increase my agility. Sadly, I don't have a perk every level mod on, so perks will be very hard to come by. Lacking both the intelligence or medical knowledge to uncover Oris's fraudulent scheme, I just shot him and his stupid little fake corpse buddies. He immediately shot me with his hunting revolver, kicked my ass, first death of the run. I would put up a death counter on the top right, but I'm lazy as shit and I know it. On the next try, I prepared a little more with plasma mines and whittled down Oris's health with laser beams. Sadly, his metal armor made my lasers do barely any damage, and since we're keeping it vanilla, I'm not using the tweak to separate head and body damage thresholds, so I can't simply shoot him in his exposed head for a quick kill. No, things must be difficult. I need to be punished for not making videos for so long. Well, I have a masochistic streak, so I'm okay with that. When he finally died, Oris's corpse fell through the ground right next to a curious item called Michael's Medical Supplies, which I picked up, correctly assuming it would be needed for a 6 Angry Strangers quest later on. The rest of GI Blues went as normal, so I won't give you a play-by-play because you've already done the quest many times before, and this video is going to be long as hell already. I've got to trim some of the fat. But I did install a different fart mod, and this one actually has a gameplay effect of throwing most NPCs and physics objects several feet, making it super useful. It is a bit overpowered since you can spam the fart effect. I wish it only kicked in after eating pork and beans, or maybe there could be a cooldown, but no, the mod is what it is. Once GI Blues was over, I immediately called in a favor from the king, and that favor was a passport onto the strip. I also got so much XP I skipped right to level 5, and spent most of my skill points pumping up the explosives and speech skills. I also took the Heave-Ho perk to somewhat counteract the stupidity of choosing Loose Cannon as a trait. While I was getting my passport from Mick and Ralph's, I bought as many explosives as I possibly could, and then it was off to the New Vegas Strip. I had a quick chat with Mr. House before walking into Gomorrah to get this 6 Angry Strangers quest started. The greeter at Gomorrah took all my weapons away, but that didn't stop me from locating Alex, the first of 6 Angry Strangers. Of course, it couldn't be as simple as talking to her to recruit her. No, she had a mission for Gassy Gary, and I didn't have the barter skill to skip it. She told me she wanted some guy named Lenny Jones dead, and of course Lenny was inside this casino, and I was only given a dinky little 10mm pistol to kill him with. My initial attempts at killing Lenny all ended in complete disaster since he had a large amount of health, and shooting inside the casino turned all the security against me. Eventually I developed a cheese strategy that worked. Slowly punch the bastard to death while keeping him knocked down with Gassy Gary's fearsome farts. It took something like 10 minutes, but eventually Lenny Jones was dead, and I was able to return to Alex and get her on the team. Upon fast traveling back to Boulder City, Marcus gave me my second team member to recruit. His name was Jacob, and he had over 49 confirmed Revlover kills. A true certified badass. Jacob was back in the old Mormon fort. You know, I met him before, if you remember from a few minutes ago. So I shot my way through some uncharacteristically tough Freeside thugs and made it to him. This time he had more to say to me, but of course recruiting him wasn't as easy as just having a conversation. Jacob directed me to this Michael guy who owned his contract. Michael said he'd let Jacob go if I found his medical supplies, and of course, I'd already done that. So at this point, I expected there to be a dialogue option saying, "Hey, I already found your medical supplies, here you go." But no, this quest wasn't thought through well enough to allow for that. Because I already had the medical supplies in my inventory, the quest was soft-locked at this point. So I had to cheat in another copy of the supplies to get the quest done. Well, that's 2 out of 6 Angry Strangers. We're making good progress here. The third stranger is named George Logan, and he's been looking for Eli Joe all on his own, so he immediately agreed to join the team, no quest needed. Good. And apparently another person joined the team while we were away, so I guess all 6 strangers are assembled. I don't know how we reached 6, but I was never very good at counting. Anyways, apparently Eli Joe and his evil gang were spotted in Novak, so we set off to face them. I hadn't actually been to Novak yet, so we had to head out on foot. I also turned off MSAA at this point because of those damn white flashes. I have the mod that's supposed to remove them, but it wasn't working, so I just super sampled the game to 5K. That's going to get rid of most of the jaggies for you watching this. Anyways, that's enough whining about graphics. Back to the important news. Marcus's contact in Novak told us that we just barely missed Eli Joe. His gang was headed for Nipton. Well, I hadn't been to Nipton either, so I had to run there too. On the way, a pack of Night Stalkers harassed me in Arcade and very nearly killed him, but we scraped by. At Nipton, I was a bit perplexed as to where exactly Eli Joe was. I ran around and inside all the vanilla buildings, looking high and low for this asshole. After 15 fucking minutes, finally I was forced into dialogue and then combat by one of Eli Joe's gang members, but they killed me in about 2 seconds. The second go-around I lasted about 5 seconds. Third try, I blew myself up with my own grenade rifle in VATS, but the fourth time I managed to hide behind a building and a fence and plink at the gang members with my grenade rifle. Unfortunately, Arcade Gannon got himself killed, but I'd already quick-saved, so it was too late to save his ass. Thankfully, I had 6 invincible companions to help kill the gang for me, so I just kind of hid and let them shoot at each other. Eventually, things got weird. The gang leader went non-hostile to me, so I just ran around and waited until the good guys killed the bad guys. Then I looted the bad man's body, which had a note and a key to a manor. Apparently Eli Joe himself was hiding out in this manor. Okay, let's go kick his ass. I'm ready. I'm eager. But before I went to the manor, I was so over-encumbered I had to buy the hotel room in Novak and dump off a bunch of crap there. But then, it was off to the manor. I was level 8 by this point, yet I still felt like my character was weak and crappy. But that's no way to think. Gassy Gary was more than competent enough to kick Eli Joe's fat ass. I walked straight up to Joe's manor, which appeared right in front of me since it wasn't added to the LODs, and faced Eli's second-in-command, Albert Breach. Oh, rings a bell. To make the battle easier, I decided to plant some mines around the place, since Albert Breach doesn't attack you until you talk to him first. Kind of an oversight. So, anyways, the fight went, pretty shitty. I kind of had to cheese it by repeatedly farting to knock down all the enemies, and for whatever reason, much like before, the enemies eventually stopped fighting back against me, which was quite odd. With a lot of perseverance and a lot of farting, and help from the completely brain-dead AI, I was able to kill everyone in the mansion. By the way, this mansion is literally just a copy-paste of the big building at Camp Golf. If you clip through a closed door, you can see all the NCR propaganda posters and bunk beds. After killing everyone, I think there's supposed to be a climactic final battle with Eli Joe, but it didn't fucking work for me. He never showed up. So, yeah, that's the end of this mod. I guess I'm not getting my 20,000 cap reward. I had to uninstall the mod, too, to prevent these 6 angry strangers from following me around forever. Ultimately, my thoughts on this one are quite negative. I didn't like it at all, but maybe the second mod, AutoFac, will be better. It's over 11 years old, but only has 1,300 downloads. If the description had some paragraphs, maybe it would have gotten more, but from what I read, it looks like a fairly simple dungeon romp. I really wish I had gotten that 20,000 cap reward because I'm still dead broke. No time to complain about poverty though, it's time to go to the dungeon. Stepping inside, it seemed like a nondescript office building at first. I wandered around the place, read some lore terminals, but quickly was stumped by a locked door that required a key, but I couldn't find a key. I figured it must be in this hard-locked safe, or maybe in this average-locked terminal, but I had no way of opening either without having the skill to do it. If there's a keycard hidden somewhere that bypasses the terminal or safe, I wasn't able to find it. Since I wasn't able to progress yet, I decided to do some vanilla content. I shot up the Scorpions gang, and I shot some giant ants on behalf of Major Knight, but I was still only level 9, quite a few levels away from hitting 75 lockpick. Thus, I decided to get some work done for the NCR. First was contacting the boomers and doing all their quests. I've done this so many times before, but usually with a sprint mod, so getting Gary's leaky ass to the fence line was a bit tougher than it normally is. Luckily, these completely destroyed houses with no roofs provide perfect cover from mortar fire. Anyways, I've done these boomer quests a dozen times before. Thankfully, it's always a little bit different since sometimes you don't have the skills to complete certain quests or your build makes it hard to do some of them. The ant misbehaving quest, for example, was really tough to do because the fucking ants kept exploding when I hit them with a grenade rifle. While getting these solar panel parts for Nellis Array, I decided I might as well do that lucky old sun since I had to go to Helios 1 anyways. It's free XP. Upon turning on the solar panels there, I was blinded by their brightness, and then double blinded by the sight of Malcolm Holmes, who somehow climbed up the solar array tower to follow me because I picked up a Sunset Sarsaparilla Star bottle cap earlier. I tried killing Malcolm Holmes with my fart powers, but he teleported back to the top of the tower, safe and sound. I tried doing it again, and he still survived. I guess he's an eldritch entity that is not to be fucked with. Since I'd done a lot of good for the NCR, they gave me an emergency radio that I completely forgot about and never used once. Yeah, so I did all the boomer quests, I became idolized by them, but I still didn't have enough XP. I needed more to reach 75 lockpicking, so I spent half an hour doing Beyond the Beef. I rescued Ted Gunderson from the asshole cannibal society, I locked this French asshole in a cold pantry, and then I confronted Benny and beat him to death with a pair of brass knuckles, got the platinum chip and gave it to Mr. House, he upgraded the Securitrons, yada yada, and at this point I finally had enough XP to hit 75 lockpick, so I could get back to doing what actually matters, getting through this AutoFac dungeon. I went back in and beelined it to the safe I couldn't open before. Sure enough, there was a key in there to open the main door. Behind the door was a two-way corridor, the way to the left was locked, but the right wasn't. I had to turn on a mainframe to access the left door, which woke up this administrator robot, and since I didn't have any science skill, I had to fight his ass. He was pretty easy though, only needed a few 40mm grenades to die. His death unlocked the door to Vault 11, but not the Vault 11 that's in the vanilla game. This is a different Vault 11, because changing the texture on the vault doors was too hard apparently. Inside the AutoFac, it seems like radiation was seeping in, which means there were tons of feral ghouls blocking my way to access more of the vault. I reactivated the ventilation and water filtration systems which opened more doors, and slowly learned about the lore of this place. Combat-wise, I was having a lot of trouble because tight corridors and explosive weapons don't really mix well. The potential for self-damage is great, and once enemies are right next to you, there's not much you can do. Luckily, I had bought plenty of 40 mics from Mick and Ralph's before going back to the AutoFac, so I was able to clear out the ghouls with plenty of difficulty. Honestly, I was just as much of a danger to myself as the ghouls were to myself, so I wasn't really liking my choice of build. One saving grace was my fart powers. They could send ghouls flying to a safe distance so I could use my explosives. Once the ghouls were dealt with, the next section of the vault sent robots after me, but thankfully I'd brought some pulse grenades and pulse mines along just in case. Sadly, I didn't bring enough, and had to spam my fart powers to get through the male dorm. There I found a key to the Overseer's computer, which detailed the lore of the AutoFac. The lore wasn't all that deep, really. Vault Tech made a cheap, crappy vault and then faked a nuclear explosion to get a population into it. Then the real apocalypse happened, radiation leaked in, and everyone died. The end. The final step of the mod is a gauntlet through a bunch of robots and a production facility leading to the vault's exit. If I'd been higher level or had more ammo, I wouldn't have had to rely on spamming my farts, but that's what I had to do to get through it. Ultimately, AutoFac is a half-decent dungeon romp. It'll probably take you less than half an hour to beat, and it doesn't really have much worthwhile going on, but it's not terrible. It's better than mod number 3, Enter the Bunker. This mod is over 9 years old, but doesn't even have 1,000 downloads. The screenshots on the Nexus page do this mod no favors, making the bunker look like a bunch of ugly, empty rooms. Unfortunately, spoiler alert, that's pretty much exactly what they are. As soon as I licked the wounds I earned at the AutoFac, I bought some more ammo and headed off for the Protecto Corp bunker. At its entrance is a long-ass journal entry, which I'll summarize at the end. Upon entering the bunker, I passed through a small cavern and then into some mismatched dungeon kits with tons of Z-fighting. I quickly realized that this mod is full of large, sparsely populated rooms with misaligned assets. At first I couldn't get into the bunker administrator's office, so I searched for the key. I found it, along with many holotapes and terminal entries full of misspellings that I just didn't really care to read. Basically, the story of the bunker is there's a Canadian version of Vault-Tec named Protecto Corp, but they weren't as big, so they couldn't make a working vault. Instead, they made something that would comfort people during their final days. It's actually pretty similar to AutoFac's story. 200 years after the apocalypse, a ghoul named Roy got stuck down here, was separated from his friend Philip, went completely crazy because the only interaction he had was with bobbleheads, and then turned feral. The end. The place only has one piece of good loot, Roy's sniper rifle, which was slightly better than a regular sniper rifle. I used it occasionally. The whole mod was over in less than half an hour, and definitely was not worth playing. At least it was quick and mostly painless, unlike my hemorrhoidectomy. Before moving on to mod number 4, I completed a few vanilla quests. I brokered peace between the kings and the NCR, got Rex as a companion, and even gave him a new brain from one of Old Lady Gibson's dogs. Then I went to Mojave Outpost and started quest number 4, Hunters and Heroes. This 2018 mod is our most popular yet, with over 2,000 downloads. Whoa. Still not a lot, but its page has some pictures and a readable description, so a few more people took the plunge and downloaded it. It also promises voice acting, so that's another positive. Anyways, the holotape told me to travel to a lodge, south of Nipton. I did so, and found the place in a decentish state. Hunter's Lodge is populated by several NPCs, all of whom are voiced and have a few things to talk about. The quality of the voice acting is pretty spotty, but my mic sucks too, so being in a glass house, I won't throw too many stones.
I grew up on a farmstead south of Novak. I took a nasty beating, and the jackals sacked the place. They left me to rot in the sun.
One of the voice actors sounded very unsure of himself, like the guy I met on VR chat.
You wish for justice? If so, I might have a job for you.
Anyways, the leader of the hunters told me to kill a gang leader at his hideout. The gang's a bunch of NCR deserters, apparently. Gassy Gary gladly obliged. Pretty soon I was in combat with the Free Brothers. I killed their gang leader and went back to the lodge. The next quest was to free a hostage from the same gang I just fought. I think there's an option to hand over a ransom to them, but yeah, we're not doing that. I killed all the Free Brothers again and rescued the hostage. Gary's a hero. The third mission was kind of shitty, but at least it was a departure from the regular go here, kill everything mold. I had to pass some skill checks to train the junior members of the lodge. It was pretty easy, just some awkward conversations, and I have plenty of practice at that. The final mission was to wipe out the leader of the Free Brothers, so me and Rex traveled to the cavern they were hiding in, and yeah, just kind of wiped them out. I began to realize Rex wasn't the companion for me. In fact, any melee companion was a bad idea, since I would be damaging them just as much as my enemies. Whatever, luckily the layout of the cave the Free Brothers were hiding in was conducive to funneling them into my grenades and mines. I clipped the leader, Clips, went back to the lodge, and realized, yep, that's the end of the mod. Honestly though, it wasn't all that bad if you can get past the crappy voice acting. I wish I'd played this mod first, since it was fairly easy early game content. It's not a bad mod, it just doesn't really stand out. I think it needed a few more quests, but oh well. On to mod number 5, KarthMarko's quest pack. This looks like quite the mod. 10 quests in one? My oh my. Unfortunately, this mod proves the old adage right. More is not always better. I mean, less is more, you know? You know what I mean. Right off the bat, the first quest I did was Mojave Murders, received from some guy in Good Springs wearing power armor. Apparently he's some kind of investigator because I guess random people wearing power armor investigate low-level murders around here. Before I left Good Springs, I also picked up another quest from a man named Old Joe to kill some tribals by Good Springs Source. I went to deal with the tribals first since they were closer, and they were just kind of milling around. I couldn't talk to them, but they weren't hostile, so I just set up some mines and killed them from a distance with explosives, no problemo. The murderers quest was solved similarly, with the murderer saying, "Haha, I'm the murderer," with an actual note from the developer saying he was unable to figure out how to make NPCs hostile, so I have to just kill him. Jesus fucking Christ. How hard is it to add the NPC to a faction that's always hostile to the player? I fucking figured this out when I was making quests 10 fucking years ago. Jesus Christ. So right then I knew these quests were all going to be complete dog shit, and I had no hope for any of the other ones. But I kept going. The next quest I found was in Novac, given by some guy called Big Guns, who was having a feud with a group called the Small Guns. Of course, the quest involves shooting the Small Guns gang, who are non-hostile to begin with because the mod author can't figure out basic shit. The reward for this quest was fucking ridiculous. 6,000 XP and so much weaponry and ammunition, it weighed me down heavily. I decided to load a save before completing the quest and just disable this entire crappy quest pack. There's no doubt in my mind every single quest is terrible and I had no interest in completing the rest of them. Those awful quests were definitely a low point of the past 4 months. They sapped my motivation to work on this vid for a week or two. It is difficult for me to stay motivated to put out a video like this. It's definitely harder than making AMVs, or HMVs for that matter. You know, I've been thinking about making my life easier by getting into the anti-woke content grift. That would be so fucking simple. I could make videos every day about how Sweet Baby Incorporated stole my masculinity, gave me ED, and turned me into a sissified gutter slut. It would be so easy to look at what the latest daily outrage is, pump out a quick video, and ride the gravy train straight to success station. I could make videos about Call of Duty. In 2008 we had World at War. Now we have Woke at War. World at Woke. Whatever. With all these female operators destroying my immersion. We used to have boots on the ground gameplay. Now we have high heels on the ground gameplay. With fucking Cardi B in Fortnite, Nicki Minaj in Black Ops, Warzone, Battle Royale. I don't want this shit shoveled into my face anymore, Activision. I want manliness back in my Call of Duty. Let me call people dirty f***ing over voice chat, Treyarch, you pussy pansies. Oh, there's a video right there. 1 million views, money rolling in. Only problem is I don't believe any of that shit. Sweet Baby Inc. didn't give me ED. Eating too many microwaved TV dinners did. And I don't give a damn about Call of Duty. It was always hot garbage. I was surprised when I heard about Black Ops 6 because I care so little about COD. I didn't even know they made Black Ops 3. If you want to believe there's an elite conspiracy to make video games woke, to undermine the glory of Western civilization, go right ahead and believe that stupid shit. I'm only here to give you a few minutes of joy, some laughter, not change your lifelong cultural programming. It would be very presumptuous of me to assume I could do that with one video. It's not going to happen. Believe what you want, it's not going to help you. So yeah, before starting mod number 6, I broke up the Great Khan's alliance with Caesar's Legion, got Boone as my companion since Rex was not for me, then I headed off to Federal Holdout Vault, the setting of our 6th mod. The mod has a bit less than 2,000 downloads, the description isn't bad, but the pictures are very low resolution. Anyways, it looks like another potentially good dungeon, so let's see. The cavern leading to the vault had some Night Stalkers who were easily dispatched. The entrance to the vault had tons of weapons and armor, all jingling around due to physics interactions, and beyond that there were a bunch of nasty-ass sentry bots. Luckily I had plenty of pulse mines and grenades, but eventually I ran into an obstacle I couldn't blow my way through, a locked door, this time requiring 100 lockpick. Ah, fuck, not this again. After making sure I couldn't find any other way through, I decided to go run and do more vanilla quests to level up. Again. So yeah, I spent the next hour putting the Platinum chip in the Securitron Vault at the fort, doing the Crimson Caravan quests, and finally I was able to hit level 19 and increase my lockpick skill to 90, which means 100 with a skill magazine. Unfortunately, when I came back to the Federal Vault, the sentry bots had respawned, which wasn't very nice. Whatever. I broke through the lock and took out more sentry bots. One of them was a siege breaker sentry bot, effectively the same thing as a sentry bot, but with way more health, and it took some serious fucking punishment before dying. I had to lure it back into the previous room and slowly whittle down its health over several minutes. Not very fun. And even after killing it, there were still more sentry bots to fight afterwards. Past them, however, was a room with a huge stash of pre-war money and other goodies, and then another such room guarded by Enclave sentry bots, because I guess the Enclave are involved too, because, of course. Unfortunately, at this point, one of the doors required a very hard terminal to open, and since I was never going to get 100 science, I had to cheat to open it. Behind that door were a pair of ghoulified men in black, both carrying alien blasters. They were guarding all the federal holdings, I guess. We're talking thousands of pre-war money, 100 in every single one of these boxes. I also found a suit of T-51D power armor. I gave both the blasters and the power armor to Boone, since I couldn't wear it. Additionally, I found dirt on various senators and some state secrets, none of which are of any value anymore, I suppose. Nevertheless, I was rich. Makes me wish I was rich in real life. Unfortunately, I'm a broke bastard. Maybe I should try and get some sponsorships for future videos, but I'm not really interested in completely selling out. You know, I don't want to lie for cash and say I like something even though it fucking sucks, like War Thunder. I see tons of War Thunder ad spots, and I've tried the game. It is terrible. Maybe it was the people I was playing with, I don't know, but I wouldn't do an ad for War Thunder unless Gaijin Entertainment gave me some big bucks. I'm talking 500 grand here, $500. Then maybe I'd do it. Otherwise, they can kiss my rosy red rump. Seriously, I wouldn't mind if they sent someone to kiss my ass. Kiss my ass is one of those weird insults. It always confuses me when people say things like, suck my nuts, suck my dick. I'm like, okay, do you want me to? Is that an invitation? Because that doesn't sound so bad. I wouldn't mind. Maybe it would help us bury the hatchet, get rid of the animosity you seem to have. Jeez. Anyways, what mod were we playing again? Oh yeah, Federal Holdout Vault. In my eyes, it was a half-decent dungeon crawler thing. I kind of liked the reward at the end, but I really wish it was longer and had more enemy variety. It was basically just sentry bots. I wish the level design was better. I know it's tough to make a good dungeon in New Vegas because there's a lot less assets than Fallout 4, but this could have been better. It's not a terrible mod, though. There's some misspellings in the terminal entries, and it's just kind of boring, but it wasn't horrible. Anyways, let's move on. Mod number 7 is significantly more popular than the rest, and it's also newer, being from 2018. I knew the mod started in one of the El Rey motel rooms, but I accidentally went into the wrong one at first, the one full of scorpions. Luckily, they were easily defeated by Boone's new weapon, and then I found the right room. Inside was a dead girl's skeleton with a note about a murder, some radical root beer, a new craftable beverage, and an unsent letter from some junkie making the root beer. All seemed pretty normal, and then I noticed some green shit dropping from the ceiling and pressed E on a mutated peyote plant. And there must have been some fucked up shit in that peyote because it sent me on a bad trip. First, poor Gary was turned into a baby, and then a child, and then Benny showed up and exploded. There was a face attached to a train. I picked up a mailbox and used it as a weapon, smashed some troglodyte clowns with it. I hit a baby, and then I had to run through a maze and locate 3 keys, which took me an embarrassingly long amount of time. We won't talk about that. And then I met Cock Mitchell, Sexy Pete. It should have been Hard Pete, come on. It was right there. 10-inch Chet. That's like 3 inches more than me. I need to jelk more, I guess. Holy fuck. There's Bunny Smiles and True D. How very funny. Eventually I ended up in a spaceship, and then Vault 101 showed up, but it had a wire mesh maze that took me another 10 minutes to get through, and it probably looks like complete shit thanks to video compression. Once I got through it, I had to dive into a toilet, and then Gary woke up in the real world, I think, but all my weapons were gone, and I had to fight and kill this guy named Logan. Apparently this Logan guy got trapped down here by a Deathclaw and went crazy, and now me and Boone are trapped too, so we have to go through with the escape plan Logan made. I found out the hard way: if you just try and leave, a Deathclaw teleports in behind you and kills you instantly. So I didn't do that the second time. Instead, I planted a bomb next to a sulfur deposit to trap the Deathclaw in its lair and allow us to escape. Afterwards, I managed to run through a subway station to find the exit, and it was great to see the sun again. Unfortunately, we were in Mexico, not the United States anymore. Nobody here understood anything I was saying, so after running around for 10 minutes trying to find a way back, and not being able to find the boat key that would take me there, I just killed the Mexican farmhand and his wife with their own guns. Even afterwards, I still didn't find the key on them, so I just had to spawn it in. Whoopsie! Back in the Mojave, I still wasn't done with the mod because my weapons were gone. I had to travel to a pawn shop to get them back. I had a brain fart instead of a regular fart in the shop, and mistakenly thought the quest arrow was pointing to a safe inside the shop. So I thought I had to kill everyone there to get my stuff back. No, that was entirely pointless. The note leading to my stuff was actually right here on the wall, so I just killed a potentially valuable vendor for no reason. Anyway, supposedly my stuff's in an apartment nearby, but I couldn't reach it due to an incompatibility between this mod and AutoFac. They actually use the same building. I had to TCL up to the apartment door to fix the problem. Inside the apartment, my weapons were nowhere to be found, but there was a slaughtered family, and some traumatized kid gave me a note with a stupid little poem about where my weapons are hidden. And if I had to figure it out myself, I would never find my guns in a million years, but thankfully for idiots like me, there are quest markers telling you exactly where to go. To get my shit back, I had to travel from Jacobstown and trudge through the mountains. Tucked away behind a cavern is a massive estate that apparently has nothing to do with anything, as far as I'm aware, since the actual quest objective is behind it. This mod is full of random shit. Maybe that's the point. Well, my weapons were inside this mole rat-infested cave, somehow. Mama Mole ate the key to the trunk, and I had to kill her to get it off of her. Sadly, the trunk did not contain Boone's Men in Black blaster, nor the ammo I gave him, so I was never able to use it again. Still, I did get a unique battle rifle with the Mexican flag on it that I used occasionally, and a unique Chinese pistol that made for good decoration. My thoughts on this mod are very positive. It was quite the trip. I definitely liked the first half more with the drug-induced fever dream. Losing all my weapons was not as fun, but still, this was actually a damn good mod. It deserved more interest than it got. Following it up, however, is mod number 8, The Crazy Hobo Adventure from 2015. I didn't have a lot of hope for this one. It just looks like complete crap from the pictures and description. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The quest begins with you talking to a crazy hobo who says wacky things like, "Sometimes I eat spoons on a hot dog." I don't find this endearing. Maybe I'm biased, though. I'm not a fan of that kind of LOL, so random humor. It simply doesn't appeal to me. I'm more of a cynicism, shock humor, gross out humor kind of guy. You know? What? You think I'm going to say something funny? It doesn't work if you're expecting it. So, the Crazy Hobo's first quest was to pick up a piece of sheet metal to use as a makeshift roof. His next mission was to pick up some wooden planks. Oh, now it's getting exciting. Oh, by the way, none of the items left my inventory after the quest was over, so I just had like a 200-pound fucking metal sheet in my inventory forever. Thankfully, quest items have no weight, or I'd be fucked. The third quest was to kill a rival group of hobos that stole the Crazy Hobo's food. These opposing hobos were not even 200 meters away, and they kind of looked like fiends more than hobos. When I killed them, I could not actually find the Crazy Hobo's meat on their corpses, so I had to advance the quest stage through the console. As a reward for not actually getting back the food, but advancing the quest stage at least, I received some hobo armor, which actually has really good DT, but looks like complete crap, so I gave it to Boone. The fourth quest was to get back the hobo's rifle from another hobo. I don't know, the mod author gave no fucks about this mod, so neither will I. The hobo who stole the rifle is at Nipton, and luckily was engaging the convicts there, allowing me to get the drop on him. Not that he was even hostile, for whatever reason he wasn't. Boom! The reward for completing this quest was getting to keep the hobo rifle, so I guess the crazy hobo didn't need his rifle back after all. He also gave me a hobo spear, which was a pretty shitty melee weapon. The penultimate mission was to fight a guy called the Black Knight in Novak. I found him standing on the bridge out of town, and upon talking to him I got a Wild Wasteland dialogue option, despite definitely not having the Wild Wasteland trait. Well, that option did nothing, and I had to fight the asshole anyways. The hideous texture on his power armor kept glitching out, and I was able to exploit his unbelievably shitty AI to kill him quickly. I gave Boone the Black Knight armor, but then took it away from him because the texture flickering like crazy was not something I wanted to see. The Black Knight also had a bumper sword, but its damage wasn't too crazy, so I decided not to use it. As a reward for killing the Black Knight, the crazy hobo gave me a bunch of random junk, like an ashtray and a Braxo cleaner. This is a great example of the random humor I hate so much. My final task was to take out King Mutant, but the mod author placed him inside Quarry Junction, so I also needed to deal with all the deathclaws there. Now, up until this point, my explosives build was pretty useless, but in this wide open area, I was finally able to use my bombs with free reign. Before long, I spotted the King Mutant. Its large size made it get stuck easily, and when it did get free, I was able to use the old stand on an object trick to confuse it and make it impossible for it to attack me. From there, it was a slow process of whittling down the beast's health. It took 5 minutes, but eventually I was able to do it, and the game magically rewarded me with 10,000 caps before I even got back to the Hobo. I made certain this was the last quest by talking to the Hobo again, and he told me there wouldn't be any more quests since Fallout 4 is coming out soon, and nobody's going to be making New Vegas mods after Fallout 4 comes out. Well, that didn't age well. Alright then, now it's time for the 9th and final mod, the Lost Legion. This was a tough one to install because it requires not only the Speedy Resource Pack, but also Monster Mod and the unfinished Vault 24 mod. The quest starts at the Lucky 38 Presidential Suite when you grab a holotape from some guy named Dent. The story is that a while ago, both Caesar's Legion and the Brotherhood of Steel sent tons of troops into Dallas, Texas, but they never returned. So Dent and his buddies want me to figure out what happened. But Dallas is pretty far away, so I need to take a truck from Camp McCarran. So I went there, tried to talk to Jenna, the driver, but she had nothing to say, so I read her rules and read through Dent's intel about Dallas. Apparently it's a hellhole full of mutants. So not much has changed. I pressed E on the travel papers and prepared to see the glory of Dallas, Texas. Weirdly, a vehicle driving sound played after I arrived, but perhaps it's supposed to play during the loading screen. Of course, on an SSD, loading screens are never more than a second long, so yeah. Dallas has an exceptionally depressing atmosphere, but it wasn't long before I noticed this new world space has no LODs. It's a real shame because otherwise it doesn't look bad at all. The road ahead naturally led me to a ramshackle town, and upon reaching it, my ears were assaulted by a gruff voice telling me it was the new master, and I had to join him.
Go.
Yeah, no thanks, asshole. Wait, how are you in my head? A very unnecessary pop-up told me to look at all the corpses, as if any normal player wouldn't be doing that. The shacks were full of bodies and a bit of loot, but no explanation as to what happened to these Legion ass clowns. I eventually hit a locked gate with no way around. It might look like the map is open and there's many paths to go down, but I soon discovered this is actually an extremely linear mod. The author loved invisible walls more than Obsidian did. Before looking for the key to the gate, I cleared out the mutants behind it using explosives, but damn, they were tough. My supplies were eaten up quickly. While they lasted, though, I was having a grand old time slaughtering helpless mutants with grenades and mini-nukes. Once I got the key, I opened up the gate, and while I was analyzing some ugly smoke sprites, the new master began speaking through me once again, although I wasn't really listening. Something about turning people into mutants to somehow make them better? I don't know. The creeper enemies from Monster Mod are unfortunately immune to Gary's fart powers, but thankfully not to missiles. While running down these train tracks, a pop-up said I got hit in the head with a golf ball. I have no idea what this is about, it never comes up again. I also found a bunch of buildings with no doors, just a black void where the door should be. I mean, come on, you could have at least put a boarded up door there if you can't make an interior. Anyways, the sheer number of mutants at this train station was just fucking ridiculous. There were so many enemies I had to resort to using a laser rifle because it was the only weapon I had ammo for, since the dead Brotherhood soldiers were all carrying microfusion cells. Sadly, the dead legionaries weren't carrying any weapons. Eventually, I managed to kill all the enemies and then tried to find the way to go. I found a building you can walk right through, as well as an abandoned skyscraper that somehow has Sierra Madre chips in its furniture. I guess the furniture was copy-pasted from the Dead Money DLC. The skyscraper had a lot of lore and shit that I couldn't be bothered to read, something about the events of Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. After exploring that, I came across more fake buildings, tents I couldn't enter, but eventually I found the gate I was meant to go through. After coming across even more fake buildings, I started to realize there wasn't going to be any side content in this mod, so I stumbled around until I found the proper path, which is the former Church of Loss, which was full of sludge beetles, and really making use of that monster mod dependency, I guess. The church also had some lore explaining that the Legion got killed by all these beetles, I suppose, and there was a key to a sewer outside. The only thing of interest in the sewers were an Alpha Deathclaw, which really did a number on Gassy Gary's poor rectum. Thankfully, it was possible to stunlock it with Flatulence and punch it to death. Before long, I was out of the sewers and inside Vault-Tech's futuristic tower, where everything is shiny and glowing blue. I got lost in this building for a while before I discovered the door I had to open. At this point, some guy who I assume is from the Brotherhood of Steel sent his men after me for no reason, since my purpose here is to help the Brotherhood, or at least I thought so. I don't really know the story, but whatever. I killed them and took their keycard to move forward. And forward led me to another Brotherhood of Steel paladin named Kane, who was also hostile. Maybe the new master made him insane, I'm not really sure, but Kane was one tough cookie. Thankfully, he wasn't immune to being knocked down by Flatulence. I would have killed him a lot sooner if I had the separated DT for head and body setting on, because he had no armor on his head, just a bandana. Still, I eventually whittled his health down, and his corpse gave me the key I needed to get inside Vault 24, a heavily repurposed pre-made vault released over 10 years ago. As far as I know, this is the only mod project that actually made use of Vault 24, although I've read Fallout the Frontier might have used it too. Maybe I'll review the Frontier one day. That'll be fun. I've heard good things about it. When I entered the vault, another annoying voice pushed inside my head. This time it was from a woman who was with the Brotherhood but got uploaded into cyberspace or something. I don't know. I was being attacked by a bunch of security droids, so it was hard to tell what she was saying. Once I got through all that shit, another fucking voice, this one computer generated, popped into my head to give me some exposition about Vault 24. And I got a note about invisible death claws being up ahead. Fun. What was actually fun, no sarcasm, is the working elevator Vault 24 has. Unfortunately, the first time I went down it, it killed me when it reached the bottom. Because I thought that was supposed to happen, I decided to go exploring and came across this little portal Easter egg with singing turrets. Then I went back to the elevator, and this time it worked. Why it didn't the first time is anybody's guess. Moving on, my ears were ravaged by that woman's voice again, as she explained that I needed to go into virtual reality or some shit to get through the next area. Sadly, even virtual reality isn't safe. There's guys wearing suits that are maybe supposed to represent an antivirus? I don't know. I didn't mind though, at least there was no Far Harbor style cyberspace puzzles. This mod came out over a year before Far Harbor, so the idea wasn't in their heads, thank fuck. Once out of cyberspace, I was accosted by that voice again, and finally encountered those invisible death claws. Luckily, Boone's perk let me see an outline of their models, so it was pretty easy to see and kill them. I found some holotape recordings that were probably supposed to be voiced, likely screaming, "Ah, invisible death claws!" but they were silent. Man, I wish my brain was silent. And a couple of days ago, I heard about people who can't think. Well, I mean, I guess they can think, but they don't have, words in their brain like normal people do, or at least I do. I am so envious of those people. I would get so much work done if I couldn't think. Sometimes I pace around the room and stare at a wall for a while, and then I look back at the time, and 30 damn minutes have passed, and I wasn't even doing anything. I was wasting time thinking about what I should do next when I could have been actually doing it. It's insane. Thought is a curse. I wish I could turn it off and become a robot. And speaking of robots, I encountered some very powerful robots in the next area, but thankfully cheesing them with my flatulence was a viable option. I went through cyberspace a few more times as the lady kept yapping about lore details I couldn't even hear because I was busy trying not to get killed. And that process continued for about 15 minutes with Microsoft Sam and this chick talking in my head while I could barely hear them over the combat. I'm just going to let you hear this audio onslaught I had to deal with.
Good, you made it past the atrium. Okay, so here's the deal. General Addis reformed his body, and they're using his uplinks to the Vault's computer system in order to manipulate, by extension, the new...
I fought through poison ivy, through blue hot ghouls, through whatever the hell these things are, and eventually made it to Lava Land. It was full of annoying robots, but I was able to fart through them, and then I found a massively overpowered hammer, which is pretty badass. Through a door, I finally came face to face with the new master himself, who was just a super mutant behemoth with a lot of health. He was immune to my fart powers, but not the massive hammer I just picked up. Yeah, so much for the new master. He was literally weaker than most of the regular enemies I've fought so far. Well, somehow Dent figured out how to get into my head too. Remember him, the guy who hired me to go to Dallas? Anyways, he told me to escape and come get my reward. So all I had to do was walk up some corridors, shoot a few security drones, and then I walked through a blast door and encountered some friendly Enclave soldiers and ninjas, and a bunch of missing mesh exclamation marks. I also got a crate with 50,000 caps, which was pretty badass. There was a bunch of lore holotapes. I think one of them tries to link the story of this mod with New Vegas bounties. I'm not sure. None of it really makes any sense. Maybe if I'd played Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, I would understand more, but who the hell wants to play that pile of dog shit? Well, that's the end of the mod. I just had to backtrack to the truck. Sadly, all the enemies respawned, but I pushed through them and made it back to Camp McCarran. Overall, the Lost Legion was an impressive mod. It had a lot of great set pieces, but really needed more time in the oven. There should have been LODs, more voice acting, side paths to go down, better balancing, but no, there wasn't. Anyhow, I may be done with all the mods, but I still need to finish the game. I went back to every vendor I could and stocked up on ammo. I also bought a grenade machine gun finally. Then it was high time I finished the NCR quest line. I was sent to deal with the Omerta conspiracy, but I didn't really feel like doing the whole quest. I needed to get this dog shit video out the door, so I just killed everybody in the casino with my GMG. Quest over. Then I went back to Colonel Moore, who told me to kill Mr. House. Perhaps I should have done it earlier, before he upgraded the Securitrons. Oh well, pulse grenades were able to deal with them. I was very disappointed with the grenade machine gun. Its ammo is super heavy, it reloads slowly, and the damage is not impressive. I blew up Mr. House with a brick of C4, and then went back to Colonel Moore, who told me I next needed to eliminate the Brotherhood of Steel. After all the shit they put him through in Dallas, Gary was happy to oblige. In an earlier video's comment section, someone told me that the Brotherhood bunker is the one with a stump on top of it, and knowing that, finding it was a piece of cake. I set up a few mines to welcome the Brotherhood greeting party, and then pushed into their stupid little bunker. Together with Boone, I slaughtered the whole Brotherhood of Steel with relative ease. It wasn't long before I killed the 3 leaders, stole their keys, and generated a self-destruct password. That's good riddance to the Brotherhood of Steel. Second last mission was to stop President Kimball from being assassinated. That was as simple as killing the Legion sniper that tried to shoot him, defusing the vertibird bomb with my explosive skills, and then I forgot about the guy that rushes the stage with a knife, so the boring-ass speech ended early, but Kimball survived, and that's all that matters. I immediately started the battle for Hoover Dam. I started whacking the hell out of legionaries with my OP hammer, really wishing I had done a melee build instead of explosives, but whatever. I didn't bother flooding the intake pipes to slow the Legion's advance. I just walked outside and started shooting. I made it to the Legate's camp in record time and dumped a bunch of mines in front of where the idiot spawns. I could have used my speech skill to talk him down, but I decided to insult his dumb ass and fart right in his face. He was undeterred by the long fall and started charging at me again with his bumper sword. Legion covering fire from marksman rifles also pushed me back. In the end, it was Boone that killed Legate Lanius. I didn't even see the bastard die. But I guess Boone wanted him dead more than I did, let's be honest. General Oliver congratulated me on a job well done, and the credits rolled, answering the question no one ever asked in the affirmative. Yes, you can fart your way through Fallout New Vegas. Sorry for the lack of content in the past few months. If this video gets, let's lowball it, 200 views, I promise you won't have to wait as long for the next one. So yeah, until next time, viewers, toodles.